Good evening and welcome. I represent the 402 faculty, 1,405 staff, nearly 3,500 students, 45,000 living alumni, 47,000 animals, 88 counties, and 11,000 acres that make up the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences at The Ohio State University. We are one college with multiple components, united in our purpose, but with different strategies and missions. Our college includes 3 campuses: Columbus, CFAES Worcester, and statewide. OSU Extension and 4-H, ATI, the Ohio Experiment Station, also known as OARDC, multiple academic units, including the School of Environment and Natural Resources, research stations, and over 100 unique centers, institutes, and programs. We are committed to scholarship across our 3 mission areas: teaching, research, and extension, with a commitment to serving our state in addition to the country and the world. As a land grant, we are part of a cooperative structure which includes key partners all dedicated to integrating our research, education, and extension to improve the food and agricultural sectors, the environment, and the quality of people's lives. We educate not just college students, but over 1 million individuals across the lifespan. We work to ensure that groundbreaking scientific discoveries are brought out of the laboratory and into the hands of those who can put them to work. Tonight, we wanted to think about big dreams and those who dream them. Our work is a really big dream. At its simplest, what we do is harness the sun, the essential source of energy for our planet, and convert it so humans can use it as food, fiber, or fuel. This work began around 12,000 years ago with a revolution, the birth of agriculture, which not only gave us a consistent way to nourish our bodies with the cultivation of plants and the domestication of animals, but that revolution also created the conditions for towns, which eventually became our cities, profoundly impacting how humans lived and the development of civilizations as we know them. In the 17th century, another revolution sped up that transformation as industrialization led to manufacturing of feed and agricultural products. Railroads made transportation across increasingly wider spaces possible, and it changed production scale and location to the people who ultimately benefited. In the 1930s, another revolution led by Norman Borlaug, the Green Revolution, was actually a revolution of technology transfer, which dramatically increased yields and nearly seemed to defy the constraints of growing conditions, such as diseases, poor soils, or limited water. While it generated the ability to produce abundantly and feed growing populations, and particularly the poor, it also meant fewer people were needed to produce that abundance. And ultimately, there were consequences, particularly for those natural resources and the costs to productivity. And now, at the turn of this millennium, we are living in the 4th major revolution of agriculture. This one is digital. It's precision agriculture, artificial intelligence, and drones. It's a recognition of the vast complexity of our systems and that yield isn't the only important outcome. It's a balancing of natural resources, soil and water and ecosystems. And once again, it has profound implications for sustaining life on our planet. Work in and around agriculture has evolved and continues to evolve over the past 12,000 years and has had a profound impact on civilizations health, the environment, and nearly every aspect of human experience. Agriculture is essential to human survival, as is our work in environment and ecosystem sustainability. As a result, our college seeks to balance the dynamics between viable agricultural production, food security and safety, and environmental and ecosystem sustainability. We particularly acknowledge the tensions and opportunities which exist within our disciplines, perspectives, constituents, and focus, whether rural and urban, production agriculture and environmental, or applied, social, and basic science. To say this is complex is likely the greatest understatement of our college's 150-year history, and yet it drives directly at the very reason for our existence. CFAES is uniquely poised to grapple with some of humanity's grandest challenges that affect us locally and globally, and we are uniquely able to lead in this revolution. Our college has its roots in agriculture, and like agriculture, has evolved so that the future includes a complex blend of disciplines and systems. As our comprehensive university changes and evolves, the fundamental importance of our college and its disciplines remain. While the issues and challenges change, this college was founded with the recognition that our disciplines are critical to all life on this planet. This is our work. 150 years later, CFAES is both literally the cornerstone college of our university, which began as Ohio A&M, and the cornerstone of sustaining human life on Earth because of our disciplines. This work is not easy, requiring strategic focus on not only our core missions of teaching, research, and outreach, but also our focus on the statewide infrastructure that supports those missions. We have a significant legacy of impact and leadership, and continually seek ways to broaden our impact throughout Ohio and around the world. We are, after all, the product of a really big dream, the land-grant university system. The evolution and impact of our land-grant universities over the past 150 years has been profound in addressing the challenges of a continually developing nation through a wide spectrum of worldwide impact and technological advancements. There are members of the CFAES family making connections and discoveries each day that advance the dream of the land-grant mission. To celebrate our sesquicentennial in 2020, we established the Spirit of Land Grant Award, an award given each year to someone within the CFAES community who exemplifies the spirit of everything a modern land-grant institution should be. The 2021 winner of the Spirit of Land Grant Award is Ansley Watkins, a student in the School of Environment and Natural Resources within our college. Ansley is a Morrell Scholar through the Ohio State Office of Diversity and Inclusion, as well as one of the 25 students selected as part of the Buckeye Leadership Fellows Program. She has worked tirelessly within the School of Environment and Natural Resources to provide programming that helps underrepresented minority students transition from high school to Ohio State. Ansley dreams of a future where she combines her passions for education and sustainability.
When I applied to colleges, I didn't have a top choice, and I was like, I would like to be out of state because I like going to new places. And I was like, oh, animal science looks cool, and colleges that have that are not, high in number. And applying to Ohio State, I was like, that seems chill. I wanted a big city because I like doing things that are not, like in bubbles. And so when I toured here, I was like, that looks cool. Then I got a good scholarship, and I actually met with Esther DeBusk, who works in the school and she's now my supervisor, like for my job. So it was kind of just like all these cool connections. And when I applied and I got the scholarship, and I was like, I want to make sure I can change my major to like wildlife if I wanted to, because I originally wanted to be like a wildlife animal vet, and that like shifted because I decided to work more with people. But natural resource management was like a good alternative, as was forestry, fisheries, and wildlife. But I switched my first semester actually. I was working on harmful algal bloom research in the summer of 2019, and we were working on a mapping project to kind of show how harmful algal blooms form and when they might form and what they might look like as time progresses in like late summer, because they are a pretty big thing here in Ohio. I didn't really know much about them in Georgia because we do have them, but we don't have giant freshwater lakes like here in the Midwest. And so I was like, oh, harmful algal blooms, doing kind of like fisheries and like periphyton, kind of like algae collection, and then entering that information into like databases and collecting like sediment samples to inform the mapping project. So it was a lot of lab work, but also a lot of like field sampling. So we were kind of going out every day collecting stuff, but then I was like back in the lab in the afternoons doing work as well. For my job in SDNR, I'm officially the peer mentor president. I was previously the outreach coordinator for students, but now my role looks like working with all peer mentors who are students who are like usually second years and above in the school, who work with all incoming freshmen and transfer students. So I help kind of plan modules for the new students and help them get acclimated to campus. But I also serve on panels and kind of talk to parents and students before students actually apply and come to school here. And I think sharing like my experience and what is possible on campus is really important, because a lot of students just don't know, like what could happen as a student, or how they can get involved. And I've also worked with the dean to kind of provide some more like funding and resource opportunities for like minority and underrepresented students. So after graduation, I would like to work in the government for a little bit, probably in the federal government, like in the Bureau of Land Management or Department of the Interior, doing like policy and education work for visitors to like national parks and other public lands. And then I am applying for a fellowship that will be working with like a national 501c3 agency probably, and working at that for a couple years, and I'll probably go on to grad school because I would like to implement like education policy into conservation work. So making sure students have exposure and have opportunities to kind of see what's around them, because I think it's really important that people know what is possible, because a lot of times students will come here and they're like, oh, I didn't know I could get involved in that, and they like missed out on an opportunity. So making sure like young students especially have that is really important to me in the conservation sector. I'm a Moral Scholar as well as an LSAM Scholar, which are both entities in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. But I've also gotten scholarships through like the Academic Affairs group and like through Honors and Scholars, and so I've been able to study abroad and do some of my research has been funded through those scholarship opportunities. So I really appreciated like having those and being able to kind of explore options that may not have been as easy to follow otherwise.
Imagine a world in which the food we eat puts an end to cancer, and a food scientist, not a medical researcher, leads the way. Sounds like a big dream? Jessica Cooperstone, an assistant professor in the Department of Food Science and Technology, is exploring how compounds in certain fruits and vegetables may have the potential to do just that. Working with experts from the farm field to the health clinic, Dr. Cooperstone explains the necessity of a transdisciplinary approach to this work, and how The Ohio State University and the College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences are uniquely positioned for such an endeavor.
So what we know is that people who eat diets that are rich in fruits and vegetables seem to have benefits over people who don't. What my group is doing is we're trying to understand why that is. What we do is we try to select particular compounds of interest. So for example, we're really interested in studying tomatoes. And a lot of people think that the benefits of tomatoes might come from the pigment in tomatoes, the thing that makes tomatoes red, which is called lycopene. And so if we want to know what lycopene specifically does in terms of human health in the context of tomato, what we can do is we can make tomatoes that don't have lycopene. So using kind of an interdisciplinary approach to conduct nutrition-based clinical trials to understand how consuming these foods affects health outcomes. And then we can put this all together to try to understand, is the benefit of tomato coming from lycopene? Is it coming partially from lycopene, or is it coming from something else? So we want to be able to make that link so that we can eventually develop crops that are nutritionally enhanced. In order to do this in a way that's worthy of health claims and where we have really our backing behind it, we need to go down this pipeline. Ohio State is a really unique place to study at the intersection of plants and foods and nutrition and human health, because we have all of these relevant departments and all of these scientists and clinicians interested in questions like this co-located in the same place. So we have sort of fundamentals in agriculture in our College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences. We have folks in nutrition, we have folks in medicine, we have discovery themes that's focused on foods and health. And so having all of these resources and faculty and staff and students all in one place really gives us a unique capacity to do research at the intersection of plants and foods and health. In the future, I hope that my group, in conjunction with all of our collaborators, will be able to see our healthier fruits and vegetables available for farmers to grow, for consumers to buy at the grocery store, and affecting positively the lives of people in Ohio and beyond. I've been really fortunate to be the beneficiary of the generosity of Lisa and Dan Wampler as the first Wampler Fellow in Foods for Health Research, in Food Science and Technology. And it's really been nice that it's, for me at least, come full circle in that now graduate students, including Jenna Miller and Maria Shalola on my team, have also been Wampler Fellows as well and are now able to also be beneficiaries of Lisa and Dan's generosity. These philanthropic gifts have been really important in helping us to move our research forward, especially in the area of foods and health.
The rains this spring have reminded us how important watershed management is to healthy soils and crops. As the lines between rural and urban communities continue to blur, we have an increasing need to bring an interdisciplinary approach to how we manage water in this complex system. With a focus on stormwater control measures and water quality, Ryan Winston, assistant professor in the Department of Food, Agricultural, and Biological Engineering, specializes in stormwater management, specifically in urban environments.
So some of the water management issues that we see in urban areas are related mainly to erosion and then also to water quality. So the erosion issues that we see in streams like the ones behind me are related to increases in the amount of runoff coming off of the land when we develop the residential and commercial areas that exist here in Columbus and other urban areas across the state. The water quality issues actually in some ways tie into a lot of the agricultural water quality issues that we have in Ohio as well. So we have nutrient management issues in urban areas, particularly as they relate to landscape fertilizer and other sources of nutrients that partially cause impairments to streams and rivers and lakes like Lake Erie. Some of the ecological engineering solutions that we're looking at here in Clintonville and also across the state of Ohio and the Great Lakes region include things like bioretention, which is an engineered rain garden that is utilized to treat and purify stormwater runoff before it's discharged out into streams like Adena Brook behind me. We're also looking at alternative pavement solutions, things like porous pavements that allow the rainwater to soak through the pavement surface as opposed to running off. So the testing we're doing in Waterman at the moment is a collaboration with an entomologist, actually looking at mosquitoes in stormwater controls, particularly the wetlands that are out there on Waterman, and trying to understand how we can reduce mosquito habitat in our stormwater features that we build in our urban landscape because of the fact that mosquitoes vector diseases. We also have a controlled testing facility up in Worcester where we're doing a number of, as I mentioned earlier, construction site sediment erosion control tests for Ohio Department of Transportation. So trying to mimic some of their road construction sites and understand what best practices we can use to keep the sediment from those construction sites from discharging into streams and causing impairments of those streams. Future impacts and applications of my research, I hope, are far-reaching. A lot of my work is applied research to try to understand how stormwater treatment practices function in the real world. And so I collaborate a lot with communities like Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, etc., to help them to reach their stormwater goals and to come up with not only solutions to water quality problems, but cost-effective solutions that are easily maintainable in the long run and are ecologically sensitive as well. Partnerships and donor funding are really critical for any research program, in my opinion, and that includes mine. Donor funding really helps us to do things like send our students to conferences and to professional development to help to build their experience here at Ohio State. So I'm really appreciative of all the donor funding that I've received over the last few years. We have a couple of partnerships with private companies, including Advanced Drainage Systems and Meyer Corporation, the grocery store, to look at advancing stormwater management and collaboration with private entities. And so those dollars have certainly helped to support my research and to advance the goals of my research program. So I see private collaborations as a critical piece of the infrastructure that is my research program.
Nothing represents the power of potential more than the seed. From it grows the very food and fiber that feeds us, clothes us, sustains us. Ken Davis, a 2008 graduate of our college, has dedicated his career to capturing that potential and building on it to have an impact on our industry. Ken is the co-owner and commercial director of GrowPro Genetics, a company that develops soft red winter wheat genetics specifically designed for the Midwestern market.
Hello, I'm Ken Davis, Commercial Director of GrowPro Genetics, and our business specializes in seed research, and specifically wheat seed research. And the geography that we focus on is the Midwest. There's about 6 million acres of soft red winter wheat here, and our team develops varieties for that market. GrowPro Genetics is a small business, so we certainly have big dreams despite our size. We want to grow our business true to our name, but more specifically, we want to do it in a sustainable way. We want to support our communities and the environment through that process. So big dreams for a small company, but I think we can do it. The biggest change in the acres, or for the wheat business, is the number of farmers involved and the acres dedicated to wheat. It's half the size of what it was 10 years ago, and so it's become a specialty market. Soft red winter wheat is more of a high-yielding, low-protein type of wheat, and our business is able to really focus on that. The education, and Ohio State specifically, had a huge part in my decision to choose agriculture and then seed science. But agriculture is obviously critical to what we do. I fell in love with it because of the people and the farmers that you're able to work with, the businesses involved, and just very genuine, down-the-earth industry. Scholarship is certainly critical to my education. Like I mentioned, the people brought me into agriculture, but I think the financial aid and the scholarship kept me there. So after working my way through school for a few years, I was able to focus on my education more through scholarships from the College of Agriculture. So quite critical, and they made those opportunities available through service projects, community involvement, and things of that nature. So you never know who you're going to influence or impact, and that certainly had a huge play in where my career took me. I think that we can impact the industry and what we do in a small way. We can't do it alone. It takes a large team and lots of support, but I believe that we can do it through hard work. That's one of the core pillars of our business, so that when those dreams are available, we can realize those opportunities.
Well, welcome, President Johnson. We're so glad you could join us for the Dean's Spring Dinner this year, and really happy that you can spend a little time with us and all of our friends tonight. So.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here, Dean Kress. This is awesome.
Yeah. I want to congratulate you on the conclusion of your first year, academic year, as president, and it's been quite a year with an enormous amount of challenges that you have led us through so very well. But I wondered if you might reflect for a moment and share with us, as we went through this challenging year, what was it about Ohio State that impressed you the most?
Well, there's a lot that happened, as you know, and thank you for your leadership as well during this time. You know, I think the first thing is just the resilience and the spirit, the Buckeye spirit. Mm-hmm. It was evident everywhere. I mean, overnight, literally, we stood up a testing facility at Jesse Owens North for testing now up to, we were doing 20, 30,000 students a week. And prior, we were only doing 300 a day. So that was a big deal. And we all came together and made that happen. Great teamwork. You know, and the second thing was illustrated by the college, CFAES. You were the first to get an exemption to do carry out research when COVID started, and you did. And congratulations, that was huge. Yeah. So I really think that's it. It's really the Buckeye spirit.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think the resiliency of the Buckeyes is amazing. And the testing station, having been tested there myself, I mean, it was amazing how efficient and how much that helped us just to keep on going.
That's right. And really the frontline workers, I mean, oh my goodness, they were awesome. And I got tested, but I also got the vaccine at the shot. And that was another smooth logistical
It really
situation.
was.
And 200,000 people, over 200,000 people have been vaccinated, which just shows what we do as a land-grant university, which you're at the heart of that mission for our communities.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. So those of us in CFAES like to think of ourselves as the Cornerstone College, both because the Ohio State University started as Ohio A&M, but also because our disciplines form the cornerstone for sustaining life on Earth. I'm wondering if you might just reflect a little bit and tell us what excites you about having our college as part of the portfolio here at Ohio State.
Well, as you said, it is the Cornerstone College. Although I think my grandfather graduated in mechanical engineering back in 1896. Might argue that there's another Cornerstone College in the College of Engineering, which is great. But certainly it is at the center of what we do. And it's at the heart, as I said before, of the land grant mission here. So I think about some examples of that. I think of the building that we're in today, you know, the Kuhn Brundage building, which really exemplifies that outreach. And it's the center of the extension program here in Franklin County. So that's pretty special. I think about the convergent research opportunities. So when I think about what we're trying to do at the West Innovation Campus, which we're looking at renaming the Ohio State University Innovation District, it's right next door to Waterman Farm. So when you think about the whole, you know, table, farm to table, and what you can do about the kind of food we eat, the kind of life we lead, the kind of diseases that we can prevent. I think that's very exciting, and so that's that convergent research topic, and you're doing it already. So I'm really impressed by the Exploratory Research Groups program, because that brings people together across disciplines, and you know, to look at things like the Garden of Hope in collaboration with the James. So it's all those kinds of things. You are truly at the center of what we do.
Well, of course, we're delighted to hear that. I think it's really important to think about the ways we all work together and inform each other's work. You know, all of, I think, the easy questions have been answered in our disciplines. And now where I think the innovation truly lies is being able to get all of our incredible and brilliant scientists together and start being able to press on those edges of the disciplines. I think that's where a lot of the solutions to these complex problems are going to be. And I think Ohio State is well poised to be able to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about one of the biggest challenges that humankind faces, which is chaotic climate change, you know, due to the amount of carbon that's in the atmosphere. And yet with the work that you're doing here, you know, at CFAES, and what Ratan Lal is also doing in his work with soil and concentrating carbon in the soil, that's just a great, you know, nexus of those two disciplines to solve a really important problem. So I'm excited about those possibilities.
Well, and as often the case, agriculture is at the heart of solving that issue as well as a number of others. So we're one college with 3 campuses, as you know, here in Columbus, up at CFAES Worcester, and then of course our statewide presence. We'd sure like to know, how do you think that our presence throughout the state can help you with your vision for the Ohio State University?
Well, it's at the basic foundation of that vision, which is to be the model 21st century land-grant university. And so to be the model of the 21st century land-grant university, it means we need to influence those we serve in the communities in which they live. So the fact that you are everywhere in the state becomes that vehicle in which to serve those individuals. And, you know, in thinking about the theme of big dreams and dreaming big, I'd like to see the next 10 years, as I laid out in the State of the University address, 4 really big themes. One is really, they're all about excellence. So there's academic excellence. And that is really focusing on how do we invest in our faculty, because it's through our faculty that we educate the next generation. So it's investment in the faculty and our students. The second is excellence in research. And the kind of convergent research that you're doing here that cuts across every single college, you know, is fundamental to that. And then third, we need to be accessible and affordable and to serve those who may not have the means to go to college. And that's what we're looking at with our debt-free bachelor's degree. You know, we aim to graduate students debt-free within 10 years. So that means right now there's about 4,000 students who graduate every year with an average of $27,000 in debt. So we'll get there with a combination of 4 or 5 different levers. You know, we'll look at philanthropy, we'll look at being more efficient with the use of our funds, we'll look at keeping costs down, and we'll look at providing internships and co-ops for our students that are paying so that they too can contribute. So I think it's those 3 things, and then underpinned by partnerships. And I can't think of a more partnering college than CFAES.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I was struck as you were talking about that, because in our college too, you know, we really pride ourselves on our students first philosophy. CFAES has some of the best student success metrics in the university. And a big part of that is because every single one of us believes that students first. And so it matters to us what kind of community our students come into. It matters to us what kind of support they get. And thanks to a lot of our friends and our partners, we award the most scholarships of any of the colleges here at The Ohio State University. So it's a great way for us to think about how we can help you to achieve the vision that you have.
Oh, absolutely. I was amazed to learn that you give the most scholarships. And at the same time, you also have, I think, among the highest retention rates and well above the average in terms of our 4-year and 6-year graduation rates. So, you know, your student success initiatives are working.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, of course, we're really proud of as a land grant is most of those graduates have a job or are headed to professional school when they get that diploma. And about 3/4 of them stay right here in the state of Ohio.
Oh, that's great.
So we're delighted by all of those and hope to keep building on those as we look to the future.
Super.
Our campus and our college are really actively involved with the West Campus Innovation District that's just across the street from where you and I are right now. And it's really exciting to see the construction underway, the new interdisciplinary research facility that we're one of the 3 anchor colleges for, with its focus on health. And then there's a whole lot of other things going on there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening just across the street?
Well, I'll tell you that when we hired our new executive vice president for innovation, research, and the knowledge enterprise, Grace Wong, the first thing she said to me was, we have to get CFAES into the interdisciplinary research facility, because as one of those anchor colleges, you have so much to offer with the interplay between how food is produced, how it is harvested, grown, and the impact of great food on the health and well-being of individuals. So it's really at the foundation of what the interdisciplinary research facility is all about. So we're very excited about that. We're probably the only university that has those 4 colleges together on the same site.
Yes.
We need to exploit that.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, that was one of the things 4 years ago when I came to Ohio State that so excited me about the potential and the opportunities here, President Johnson, was that there's a number of land grants that have colleges that focused on agriculture or environment and food, like the one that I'm in. but very few that did so within the context of this comprehensive university with our medical complex, with the engineering program that we have here, and then just the breadth of issues that Ohio has. Here you have what I call all of these interesting balances where there's both tension and opportunity, whether it's between urban and rural, whether it's between applied or basic or social sciences, whether the tension is between the agriculture or ecosystem sustainability. Here in Ohio and at Ohio State, that's where all the really interesting research is going on. And here in the state of Ohio, we have the opportunity to really lead not just for Ohio, but for the nation and the world in all those different areas.
Oh, that's absolutely right. In fact, I was thinking about just Dr. Darren Drury, in his precision agriculture. So you're using the Internet of Things, you're using robotics to determine how much more harvest you can get from a particular planting. I mean, that's huge. And that is that cross-disciplinary with the College of Engineering is just one example. Yeah. So it's really important that you're here, and it's really important your nexus to the West Innovation Campus.
So, I mentioned earlier that we're particularly proud of our student first philosophy, and we just had a very memorable event in the SHU. For you, your first time as president, but a pretty soggy day. And yet I was really pleased that we could have graduation, that important tradition for all of our students there in the SHU again, and seeing all of our CFAES students just right up there in the front, getting pretty soaking wet during that celebration. But I thought it really spoke to how important, the traditions are. When I first came here and learned the Carmen, Ohio, for example, I used to say, and it's still true, that the Carmen lives in our college. We really believe in how firm thy friendship and really sticking with each other and everything else. So I wasn't surprised to see our students there. But what a wonderful day it was, even though it was so dreary and rainy and we were all pretty soaked. I know that that's something that those young people and their families will remember the rest of their lives. Any other things from this last year that you might want to reflect on?
Well, Dean Kress, I will remember that graduation more than I'll remember my own. I mean, the rain was coming at horizontal at 45 degrees. And the students, that comes back to that Buckeye spirit, that resilience. They stuck it out for the most part. Yeah. And no, they were great. They were really great. And that was a special ceremony, not only because of what all the students went through this last year. It was a great coming together, and we selected our 4 honorary degree recipients very deliberatively because each one of those individuals did something that had shown perseverance in their life and was relevant to what we all went through in the last 12 months. So if I were to share that, for example, we did an honorary degree for Dr. Langer. So he co-founded Moderna, which contributed to the vaccine, which is why we can even be here in person having this interview without masks on, right? Yeah. So that was huge. And then Jamie Dimon, helping shepherd our whole financial industry through 2 very difficult times, the Great Recession and the pandemic. And then Ellen Ochoa, who by definition always shot for the stars and went there, as an astronaut and 4 times up in the shuttle, which was really huge. And then lastly, Joyce Beatty, our own congresswoman, right here from Central Ohio. So talk about her commitment to social justice and diversity and opportunity for all. So I think that was, for me, very special for that day to look out and see all those students sit back, and I just hope that they got for a moment the bigness of what they did. It's great.
Yeah, it was a wonderful day. No matter the weather, it's like I said, it's something I think everyone will remember.
Yeah.
And those moments are important as markers in our lives that signal now not only the accomplishment we just completed, but the launching into the rest of our lives as well. So it was a really good day.
It was, and we did it, as you know, twice. We had to have 2 because of physical distancing, right? And it rained just as hard the second time.
I saw a little bit of it. Thankfully, I didn't have to be at both like you did, and so was there in the morning. But again, I know I heard from so many of our families and our students how much it meant to them. So we were really glad we could do that. So
It was a big point of pride for everybody. It was
yes,
great.
it sure was. Well, President Johnson, we're just so appreciative of you taking some time and joining us and joining our friends and guests for our Dean's Spring Dinner. We're really happy to welcome you as a
you.
Buckeye and in your
you.
leadership, and to support you with your vision for The Ohio State University. So thank you again for joining us.
Dean Kress, thank you, and keep leading well.
Though the last year has provided challenges, we see the opportunities in front of us. Our college is ready. We're big dreamers. Our people are dedicated, productive, and engaged. We are aligning our systems, processes, and facilities. We prepare students and solve challenges impacting us locally, throughout the state of Ohio, across our country, around our world. We are living our mission, but we can't do it without you. Join us. We sustain life.